Henry Clark stood at the viewport, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass as he watched Luna Colony burn. The Xanthi attack had been swift and merciless. 30,000 colonists, gone in minutes. "Major Clark, they're requesting your presence in the war room," said a young officer behind him. Henry nodded without turning. "Tell them I'll be there shortly." His eyes remained fixed on the destruction. The Xanthi Dominion had arrived 6 months ago, with demands that Earth surrender its outer colonies. When humanity refused, the aliens began a systematic campaign of destruction. First Mars, then the mining outposts. Now Luna. Earth would be next. In the underground war room beneath Geneva, military leaders from around the world gathered around a holographic display. The atmosphere was heavy with defeat. "The Xanthi fleet has positioned itself in high orbit," said General Westfield, pointing to red markers above the blue sphere of Earth. "Their weapons can hit any target on the surface." "What about our defenses?" asked a French admiral. "Not enough. Not nearly enough." As the discussion continued, the door opened and a woman with short gray hair entered. Dr. Olivia Grant carried a tablet and wore the determined expression of someone who hadn't slept in days. "I need to speak with you all," she said without preamble. "I found something." The room fell silent as Olivia approached the table. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she had been studying Xanthi biology since their first contact. "They have a weakness," she said, tapping her tablet to display a complex molecular structure on the main screen. "Their neural systems rely on a specific frequency of electromagnetic radiation. We've been fighting their ships, but we should be fighting their pilots." Henry leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, Doctor?" "A targeted pulse weapon that could disrupt their neural pathways. It won't destroy their ships, but it would incapacitate the Xanthi themselves." General Westfield frowned. "Developing new weapons takes time, Doctor. Time we don't have." "We already have the technology," Olivia countered. "The research was originally for medical applications. We just need to adapt it." The room erupted in overlapping conversations until the Secretary General raised his hand for silence. "Even if this works, the Xanthi fleet surrounds Earth. How do we deploy such a weapon?" That's when Henry stepped forward. "We don't deploy it here. We take it to them." He accessed the holographic display, zooming out to show the entire solar system, then further to nearby stars. "The Xanthi homeworld is here," he said, pointing to a star system 30 light-years away. "They believe we're trapped, that we have nowhere to go. But we've been developing ships with experimental drive systems at the Neptune shipyards." "The Horizon Project," muttered Westfield. "Those ships aren't ready." "They're ready enough," Henry replied. "We load them with Dr. Grant's weapon, send them to Xanthi space, and hit them where they live." "That's an act of war," said the Chinese representative. Henry gestured toward the image of burning Luna. "We're already at war. They just haven't finished us off yet." Silence fell across the room as the implications sank in. The Secretary General finally spoke. "This would be a one-way mission, even with the new drives. Anyone we send might never come back." "I'll go," Henry said without hesitation. "I'll lead the mission." Dr. Grant stepped beside him. "You'll need me to calibrate the weapon." Over the next hours, the plan took shape. They would call it Operation New Dawn. A small fleet of ships would carry Earth's best and brightest on humanity's most desperate mission. Meanwhile, Earth would pretend to negotiate surrender terms to buy time. As the meeting adjourned, Henry found Olivia waiting in the hallway. "Do you really think this will work?" she asked quietly. Henry looked at her with steady eyes. "It has to. Because if it doesn't, there won't be any humans left to try again." They walked together toward the surface, where the night sky still showed stars, and somewhere among them, the enemy that thought humanity was finished. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Samuel Wright stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching his crew prepare for their first jump. The ship hummed with energy as the new dark drive powered up. 6 months of rushed construction had produced this vessel, not as beautiful as he might have wished, but hopefully deadly enough. "Captain, all systems are reporting ready," said Lisa Rodriguez from her tactical station. The young officer had been top of her class at the academy, back when people still believed humanity had a future among the stars. "Status of the other ships?" Samuel asked. "The Courage, Valiance, and Hope are all signaling ready, sir," Alan Dawson reported from the communications panel. His fingers danced across the holographic interface as he maintained contact with the small fleet. Outside the viewports, Earth appeared peaceful and blue. No one watching from the planet's surface would know these ships were departing. The entire operation had been kept secret, even as public broadcasts showed human leaders negotiating with the Xanthi. Samuel took a deep breath. "Begin dark jump sequence." The conventional wisdom said faster-than-light travel produced energy signatures that could be detected across light years. But the engineers at Neptune had developed something new, a drive that folded space without the telltale radiation burst. "Dark drive engaging in 3, 2, 1, announced the ship's engineer over the comms. The stars outside the viewport stretched and twisted. Samuel felt a momentary pressure in his ears, and then they were elsewhere. Where Earth had been, now there was only the emptiness of deep space. "Jump successful," Lisa confirmed, checking her instruments. "All ships accounted for." Samuel nodded. Plot course for the next jump point. In his quarters that night, Samuel studied the mission details again. The plan was to make 17 jumps, gradually approaching Xanthi space from an unexpected direction. Meanwhile, Earth would continue its facade of surrender negotiations. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called. Major Henry Clark stepped inside, looking less tired than he had on Earth, but no less serious. "Captain, I wanted to check our timeline." Samuel gestured to a chair. "We're on schedule. Should reach Nexus Station in 11 days if all goes well." Henry nodded but remained standing. "And the weapon?" "Dr. Grant has everything she needs in the science bay. She says adaptation is proceeding as planned." A silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken questions. Henry finally spoke. "Do you have doubts about this mission, Captain?" Samuel considered lying, then decided against it. "Not about the necessity. But yes, I have doubts about what we're becoming." "Explain." "We're about to use a weapon that targets an entire species at their biological level. That's a line humanity has never crossed." Henry's expression hardened. "They crossed it first when they decided to exterminate us." "That doesn't mean we should." "It means exactly that," Henry interrupted. "This isn't about revenge. It's about survival. Either they die, or we all do." Samuel stood up from his desk. "There's a difference between defending ourselves and what we're planning. This feels like genocide." "It's not genocide. The weapon won't kill them. Just incapacitate them long enough for us to force terms. And if it does more than that, if Dr. Grant's calculations are wrong." Henry placed both hands on the desk, leaning forward. "Then humanity survives, and 50 years from now, our children can afford the luxury of debating the ethics." He straightened and moved toward the door. "Get some rest, Captain. We have a long journey ahead." After Henry left, Samuel returned to the viewport in his quarters. The stars looked different here, the constellations unrecognizable. He wondered if any of those distant suns might someday welcome human visitors, or if they'd forever view Earth's children as the species that would do anything to survive. Nexus Station hung in space like a giant metal flower, its 5 petal-shaped docks extending from a central hub. Ships of various designs moved around it, representing at least 24 species from across the galaxy. The human fleet approached cautiously, dark drives powered down to avoid alarming the station's security systems. "Open a channel to station control," Samuel ordered, straightening his uniform. This would be humanity's first contact with alien species other than the Xanthi in over a year. The main screen flickered to show a blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Unidentified vessels, state your purpose and origin. This is Captain Samuel Wright of the Earth vessel Defiance. We request permission to dock for supplies and information exchange. The alien's upper eyes narrowed. Earth? We receive reports that your planet was under Xanthi blockade. Those reports are accurate, Samuel replied. We found a way out. After a tense moment, the alien nodded. Proceed to docking bay 3. Security will meet you. As the Defiance connected to the station, Grace Miller prepared to lead the diplomatic team. The tall, elegant woman had spent years in United Nations negotiation teams before being recruited for this mission. Remember, she told her team, we're looking for allies, not charity. Every species here has their own reasons to fear the Xanthi. The station's interior was a maze of corridors filled with aliens of all descriptions. Some walked on tentacles, others hovered above the ground, and many looked surprisingly human-like. The air smelled of unfamiliar spices and machine oil. Grace was directed to the Commerce Guild, where representatives from trading species gathered. Meanwhile, John Foster took his intelligence team toward the less reputable sections of the station. The former FBI agent moved through the crowded market district, his keen eyes noting everything. His translator earpiece worked overtime as he listened to conversations around him. In a dimly lit establishment that served intoxicants to a dozen different species, John found what he was seeking. The thin, reptilian alien sat alone in a corner booth. They said you sell information, John said, sliding into the seat opposite. The alien's vertical pupils widened. Information has value, human. What do you offer in exchange? John placed a small container on the table. Medical nanites. They extend lifespan by approximately 15% for most carbon-based life forms. The alien's tongue flicked out to taste the air. What do you seek? Everything you have on Xanthi military movements and their history of conquest. The transaction took less than 10 minutes. When John returned to the Defiance, he carried a data crystal containing more horror than he had expected. The senior officers gathered in the briefing room as John displayed his findings. The Xanthi campaign against Earth wasn't their first, he explained, showing images of devastated worlds. Over the past 50 years, they've conquered or destroyed 17 civilizations. Why hasn't the Galactic Council stopped them? Samuel asked. The Council has a strict non-interference policy. As long as the Xanthi don't attack Council member worlds, they look the other way. Dr. Grant studied the biological data on the display. These other species, the Xanthi adapted their tactics for each one. Against the methane-breathing Cora, they used atmospheric converters. Against the silicon-based Lithi, they deployed particle weapons that shattered their bodies. They study their enemies before destroying them, Henry said grimly, just as they studied us. Grace Miller entered the room, her face showing rare excitement. I have news. There are representatives from 3 species here who lost colonies to the Xanthi. They're willing to meet with us. For the first time since leaving Earth, Samuel felt a glimmer of real hope. Set it up. It's time humanity joined the larger conversation. As they prepared for the meeting, John added one final piece of information. There's something else. A rumor about an ancient civilization called the progenitors. Supposedly, they left behind technology that cooled. The ship's alarm suddenly blared, cutting him off. Captain, to the bridge, came Alan's urgent voice over the comm. A Xanthi patrol ship just entered the station's detection range. The ruins rose from the planet's surface like broken teeth, gray against the rust-colored landscape. The Defiance had managed to escape the Xanthi patrol at Nexus Station by jumping to these coordinates provided by their new allies, the location of a world abandoned millennia ago. Atmospheric readings show oxygen present, but thin, Kate Wilson reported, brushing her blonde hair from her eyes as she studied the sensor data. Surface temperature is minus 15 degrees Celsius. Samuel nodded. Prepare a landing party. Full environmental suits. 2 hours later, Kate led a team across the ancient city's crumbling avenues. Massive structures loomed around them, built from a material that resembled stone, but was harder than any metal they knew. Strange symbols decorated every surface, flowing in patterns that seemed almost familiar yet impossible to read. "These buildings have stood for at least 50,000 years," Kate said into her comm. "Yet they show almost no deterioration from exposure." Paul Bennett, the team's engineer, ran his scanner over a nearby wall. "This material has some kind of self-repairing property at the molecular level. I've never seen anything like it." The team continued deeper into the ruins, following energy readings that pulsed weakly from somewhere beneath the surface. They found an entrance, a spiral ramp descending into darkness. "Captain, we've located what appears to be an underground facility," Kate reported. "Request permission to investigate." "Granted," Samuel's voice replied. "But maintain constant contact." The ramp led to a vast chamber filled with crystalline structures arranged in concentric circles. As the team entered, lights awakened along the walls, responding to their presence. "It's still active," Paul whispered in awe. "After all this time." Kate approached what appeared to be a central console. As her gloved hand hovered over its surface, a holographic display flickered to life, showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. "This is incredible," she breathed. "This must be the progenitor technology John heard about." Paul joined her at the console. "Can you make sense of it?" Kate studied the symbols. "There's something about the pattern. It's like they designed it to be intuitive to any species with mathematical understanding." Over the next several hours, Kate began to decipher the basics of the progenitor language while Paul examined the technology. When they returned to the Defiance, their discoveries changed everything. In the ship's conference room, Kate stood before the assembled officers, her eyes bright with excitement despite her exhaustion. "The progenitors weren't just an advanced civilization," she explained. "They were guardians. They built a network of devices throughout the galaxy to maintain peace and balance between developing species." She displayed images from the ruins. When a species became aggressive toward others, these devices would activate to limit their ability to wage interstellar war. "What happened to them?" Henry asked. "According to what we could translate, they evolved beyond physical form about 70,000 years ago. They left this technology behind as a safeguard." Paul stepped forward. "The system seems designed to recognize patterns of conquest and aggression. The Xanthi's activities should have triggered it long ago, but something's wrong." "The network is damaged," Kate continued. "Many nodes are offline or destroyed, but the central control is in that facility. If we can fully activate it, we could use it against the Xanthi," Henry finished. Samuel frowned. "Is that what these progenitors would have wanted? For their technology to be used as a weapon?" "Not a weapon," Kate corrected. "A shield. The system doesn't destroy, it neutralizes aggression. It was designed to give peaceful species a chance to develop without being conquered." Dr. Grant, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. "This could complement our neural disruptor perfectly. Instead of targeting just the Xanthi biology, we could use their system to create a more comprehensive solution." Paul nodded. "I believe I can interface our technology with theirs. The principles are compatible." For the first time since leaving Earth, Samuel felt they had found not just a weapon, but a path forward that aligned with humanity's better nature. "How long will the adaptation take?" he asked. Paul and Kate exchanged glances. 3 days, maybe 4, Paul answered. "Then we'd better get started," Samuel said. "Because every day we delay, Earth moves closer to surrender or extinction." The Defiance emerged from its jump point behind the moon of a gas giant, engines running silent. Before them, the Xanthi outpost Krell-9 orbited like a metal spider, its 8 docking arms extending from a central hub. Dozens of Xanthi ships moved around it, their purple engine trails cutting through space. "All hands to battle stations," Samuel ordered, his voice calm despite the tension in his chest. "Weapon status. Neural disruptor is online and integrated with the progenitor matrix," Paul reported from engineering. "Power level stable." Lisa Rodriguez studied her tactical display. I count 37 Xanthi vessels, mostly patrol class, 2 cruisers. And they haven't detected us yet? Samuel asked. The dark drive is working perfectly, Alan confirmed. We're completely invisible to their sensors as long as we don't power weapons or engines. Samuel nodded. Signal the other ships. Begin approach using minimal thrusters. The human fleet moved silently toward the outpost, using the moon's gravity to accelerate without revealing their position. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Get close enough to deploy the combined neural disruptor and progenitor technology, then broadcast evidence of Xanthi atrocities across all communication frequencies. On the bridge, Diana Mitchell prepared the broadcast package. The young communications specialist had spent days compiling evidence from the data crystal John had acquired, adding testimony from the allies they'd made at Nexus Station. Broadcast ready, Captain, she reported. All frequencies prepared, including the Galactic Council Emergency Channel. Distance to optimal deployment range? Samuel asked. 8,000 kilometers, Lisa answered. 3 minutes at current velocity. Samuel took a deep breath. This is it. Once we activate the weapon, we'll have seconds before they respond. The bridge fell silent as the ships drifted closer to their target. Through the viewports, the massive Xanthi station grew larger, its surface bristling with weapons and communication arrays. 5,000 kilometers, Lisa counted down. 4,000. A sudden alarm blared from the tactical station. Captain, one of their patrol ships is changing course, heading directly toward us. Samuel's mind raced. Have they detected us? I don't think so, Lisa replied, studying her readings. Appears to be a standard patrol route, but they'll pass within visual range. Hold course, Samuel ordered. All ships maintain radio silence. Tense minutes passed as the Xanthi patrol vessel approached, its angular hull gleaming under the distant sun. It passed so close that they could see individual Xanthi moving inside its transparent command deck. Tall, 6-limbed figures with elongated heads. They're past us, Lisa finally reported. Still no sign they've detected our presence. Distance to target? Samuel asked. Optimal range in 30 seconds. Samuel opened a channel to all human ships. Prepare to activate on my mark. Remember, we'll only get one chance at this. As the countdown reached 0, Samuel gave the order. Activate disruptor array. Begin broadcast. The weapon fired silently, sending invisible waves of precisely calibrated energy toward the station. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the Xanthi ships began to drift. On their sensors, the energy signatures of the vessels fluctuated and dimmed. It's working, Dr. Grant exclaimed from her station. Their neural systems are shutting down. Broadcast commencing, Diana announced, her fingers flying across her console. Across the station and every Xanthi vessel, screens flickered to life with images of devastated worlds. Diana's carefully prepared message played in all major galactic languages. Attention all species. This is humanity, speaking from Earth. We bring evidence of systematic genocide committed by the Xanthi Dominion against 17 civilizations. We have neutralized this Xanthi outpost without bloodshed. We call upon all oppressed worlds to rise up. The time of Xanthi dominance is over. As the message continued broadcasting, sensors showed new activity throughout the system. Non-Xanthi ships, previously hidden, began to emerge and move toward the disabled Xanthi vessels. Captain, Alan called out, we're receiving transmissions from 12 different species in this system alone. They've been waiting for this moment. Samuel watched as the once powerful Xanthi station now floated helpless in space. Send word to Earth. Tell them the tide has turned. The Galactic Council chamber was a massive dome with 1,000 seats arranged in concentric circles. Each seat represented a spacefaring civilization. Though many had been empty for years, their occupants conquered or destroyed by the Xanthi. Today, for the first time in decades, nearly every seat was filled. Samuel stood beside Dr. Grant at the center of the chamber, feeling the weight of countless alien eyes upon them. The journey here had been swift following their successful demonstration at Krell-9. Word had spread across subspace channels, and uprisings had erupted throughout Xanthi territory. The Council, which had ignored countless pleas for help before, could no longer look away. "The emergency session of the Galactic Council is now convened," announced the Council speaker, a tall, crystalline being whose voice resonated without seeming to come from any specific part of its body. "We recognize the representatives of Earth." Samuel stepped forward. "Honorable Council, I am Captain Samuel Wright of Earth. With me is Dr. Olivia Grant, our chief scientist. We come seeking justice not only for our world, but for all worlds that have suffered under Xanthi aggression." Murmurs spread through the chamber. From a section dominated by purple lighting, a Xanthi delegate rose, 8 feet tall with 6 limbs and iridescent scales. Supreme Commander Vorax cut an imposing figure even among the diverse species present. "These humans are terrorists," Vorax's voice boomed. "They attacked peaceful Xanthi citizens with a biological weapon. They violated our sovereignty. They did what this council should have done long ago," interrupted a delegate from the far side of the chamber. The speaker was a Kora, one of the methane-breathing species whose homeworld had been devastated by the Xanthi decades earlier. Before the debate could escalate, the doors to the chamber burst open. Eric Warren, the Defiance's security chief, rushed in with several armed aliens from the Council's security force. "Captain," Eric called, "we've uncovered a plot. There are Xanthi assassins in the ventilation system." The chamber erupted in chaos as Council security moved to protect the delegates. Eric directed his team to a section of wall paneling, which they quickly removed to reveal 3 Xanthi infiltrators armed with energy weapons. As the assassins were subdued, Samuel used the moment to address the Council again. "This is the true face of the Xanthi Dominion. When they cannot win through force, they resort to treachery." Vorax's scales darkened with rage. "Human lies. This is a performance staged to discredit us. We need no help discrediting you," Dr. Grant replied, stepping forward. She activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber with images of devastated worlds. "These are the 17 civilizations the Xanthi have destroyed or subjugated. We have recovered their records. We have witnesses." One by one, representatives of those species stood in their places around the chamber, each adding their testimony to the evidence presented. The Council speaker raised all 4 of its crystalline limbs for silence. "Supreme Commander Vorax, how do you respond to these accusations?" Vorax drew himself up to his full height. "The strong survive. The weak perish. This has always been the law of the cosmos. We expanded because it is our right to do so. And now you face a force stronger than yourselves," Samuel said quietly. "What does your law say about that?" Before Vorax could answer, Samuel nodded to Dr. Grant, who activated a second control. Above the chamber, a section of the dome became transparent, revealing a human ship in orbit. From it, a beam of blue-white light shot downward, not striking the building but creating a shimmering field around it. "This is a demonstration," Samuel explained. "What you're seeing is a controlled activation of the Progenitor Defense Network, the same technology that disabled the Xanthi fleet at Krell-9." He turned to face the Council directly. "Humanity has reactivated the ancient system left by the progenitors. We don't wish to control it alone. We propose a joint commission of all peaceful species to oversee its use." The Council speaker's crystalline form glimmered as it considered. "This changes the balance of power throughout known space." "Yes," Samuel agreed, "and humanity offers this promise. We will use that power to protect, never to conquer. Those who live in peace will find us friends. Those who choose aggression." He left the sentence unfinished, but his eyes met Vorax's across the chamber. The message was clear. Earth looked different from orbit now, where once there had been darkness over the night side. Cities glowed again. 6 months after the Galactic Council session, the New Dawn Accords had been signed by 142 species. The Xanthi Dominion, greatly reduced in power and territory, had been the last to add their signature. Samuel stood on the observation deck of the Defiance, watching his home planet grow larger as they approached. Beside him, Dr. Grant studied a tablet containing the latest reports from the progenitor research teams. "Hard to believe we've been gone less than a year," she said. "It feels like a lifetime." Samuel nodded. In some ways, it was the end of one life for humanity and the beginning of another. The door slid open behind them, and Henry Clark entered. The Major looked more relaxed than Samuel had ever seen him, the permanent furrow between his brows finally smoothed. "Captain, Doctor," he greeted them. "Ready for the ceremony?" "As ready as we'll ever be," Samuel replied, "though I still think they're making too much of what we did." Henry snorted. "You led the mission that saved not just Earth, but 17 other civilizations. I'd say that deserves some recognition." The Defiance docked at the newly rebuilt orbital station. As they disembarked, cheering crowds lined the arrival area, waving flags from nations around the world. The crew walked through in formation, overwhelmed by the hero's welcome. In Geneva, at the expanded United Nations headquarters, representatives from every nation and a dozen alien species gathered for the formal ceremony. Samuel, Olivia, and the key members of the mission stood on a stage as the Secretary General approached the podium. "Today marks a new chapter in human history," she announced. "For centuries, we looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone. Then we learned we were not alone, but we faced extinction at the hands of those who saw us as nothing but resources to be conquered. Now we take our place as guardians of peace in this galaxy." She presented each of them with the newly created Star of Humanity medal, a simple silver disc bearing the image of Earth surrounded by stars. After the ceremony, at a quieter reception, Samuel found himself standing with Olivia on a balcony overlooking Lake Geneva. "What happens now?" he asked. "To us, I mean, to Earth." Olivia smiled. "I'll be leading the Joint Research Initiative with scientists from 12 species. We'll be studying the progenitor technology, learning how to use it responsibly, and our role as guardians. The Galactic Council is establishing a peacekeeping force with ships from all signatory worlds. Earth will provide a significant portion of that fleet." Samuel gazed at the stars becoming visible in the darkening sky. "I never imagined we'd end up here. When we left Earth, I thought we were on a suicide mission. Instead, we found our purpose," Olivia said. "Maybe that's what the progenitors intended all along." Lisa Rodriguez approached them, now wearing the uniform of the new joint fleet. "Captain, they're asking for you inside. The Galactic Ambassador wants to discuss your next command." As they walked back toward the reception, Samuel paused at a large window. In the harbor below, a memorial had been constructed, a simple stone column with the names of all those lost in the Xanthi attacks. Beside it stood a plaque with the words that had become humanity's unofficial motto: "We come in peace, but we'll end any war." "Do you think they understand?" Samuel asked Olivia, nodding toward the stars. "The other aggressive species out there, do you think they understand that we mean it?" "If they don't yet, they will," she replied. "The progenitor network is growing stronger every day as we restore more nodes, and our fleet expands with ships from worlds that were once enemies." Samuel took one last look at Earth below them, at the cities shining in the darkness, at the people rebuilding what had almost been lost. "Then we've done what we set out to do," he said. "We've given humanity its new dawn." Beyond Earth, throughout the galaxy, the message was spreading from world to world, system to system. A new power had arisen. Not conquerors like the Xanthi, but protectors. A species that had faced extinction and emerged stronger. A species that offered friendship to the peaceful and a final warning to those with dreams of empire. Humanity was watching, and humanity would not stand by while the innocent suffered again. 10 years had passed since the signing of the New Dawn Accords. Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined before the Xanthi crisis. Gleaming spires of alien human architecture rose from major cities. Ships from dozens of worlds moved through the solar system, bringing trade and cultural exchange. Samuel Wright, now Admiral Wright, stood on the bridge of the Unity, humanity's newest flagship. 3 times the size of the Defiance, it incorporated technology from 7 different species, all seamlessly integrated. "Admiral, we're receiving the signal," said Commander Lisa Rodriguez, who had remained with Samuel through the years. "The anomaly is active again." Samuel nodded. "Set course. Maximum speed." The Unity jumped into faster-than-light travel, emerging near the edge of explored space. Before them hung what appeared to be a tear in the fabric of reality, a shimmering disruption that sensors couldn't properly analyze. "It's bigger than last time," Lisa noted, studying the readings. "Almost twice the diameter." 3 years ago, they had detected the first anomaly, initially thought to be a natural phenomenon. Subsequent research had revealed artificial patterns within its energy signature. Something, or someone, was creating these ruptures deliberately. "Any response to our greeting package?" Samuel asked. Alan Dawson, now gray at the temples but still the best communications officer in the fleet, shook his head. "Nothing yet, Admiral. But the translation matrix is still processing possible linguistic patterns in the energy fluctuations." The Unity wasn't alone at the anomaly site. Ships from the Cora, the crystalline Vex, and even a Xanthi science vessel maintained position nearby, part of the Galactic Council's Joint Exploration Initiative. Dr. Olivia Grant entered the bridge, her excitement visible despite her professional demeanor. "Admiral, I think we've made a breakthrough. My team believes these anomalies aren't just tears in space. They're attempts at communication." "From whom?" Samuel asked. "We think." Olivia hesitated, as if hardly believing her own conclusion. "We think it might be the progenitors." A hush fell over the bridge. The progenitors, who had supposedly transcended physical form 70,000 years ago, had become almost mythological figures to the united species of the galaxy. "You're suggesting they're trying to return?" Samuel asked. "Not exactly," Olivia replied. "Based on the energy patterns, we believe they exist in a different dimension now. These anomalies are like windows they're opening to observe us." "Why now? After all this time?" Olivia's eyes shone with excitement. "Because of what humanity did. You united species that had been enemies for millennia. You used their technology not for conquest, but for protection. You fulfilled the purpose they designed it for." Before Samuel could respond, Alan called out from his station. "Admiral, we're receiving something. It's unlike any signal I've ever seen." The main view screen flickered, then filled with shifting patterns of light and color. There was no recognizable image, no words in any language, yet somehow every person on the bridge felt a sense of profound communication. "They're acknowledging us," Olivia whispered. "They're pleased." The patterns shifted again, and suddenly star maps appeared, showing regions of space far beyond explored territory. Points of light pulsed in sequence, highlighting specific systems. "They're giving us directions," Lisa realized. "Coordinates to new worlds." "Not just any worlds," Olivia said, studying the data streaming in. "These are systems with developing civilizations. They're showing us where we're needed next." Samuel understood immediately. The progenitors weren't returning. They were passing the torch. Humanity and its allies had proven themselves worthy successors as guardians of peaceful development throughout the galaxy. "Send word to Earth and the Council," Samuel ordered. Tell them we've been given our next mission." As the Unity maintained position near the anomaly, more information flowed in, knowledge about space, time, and reality that would take generations to fully understand. But the most important message needed no translation. The work humanity had begun with Operation New Dawn was just the beginning. The stars were full of young civilizations taking their first steps toward sentience, all vulnerable to the same dangers that had almost destroyed Earth. They would need protection, guidance, and ultimately, welcome into the growing community of peaceful worlds. It seems we've gone from fighting for our survival to becoming guardians of the galaxy, Samuel said quietly. Not exactly what we expected when we launched the Defiance all those years ago. Olivia smiled. The new dawn continues to spread, just as it should.